bringing you everything you need to know from worldwide storylines to what's happening right now here in San Dimas. Here is Wyld Stallions News.
Hello, I'm Bill S. Preston, Esquire.
And I'm Ted, Theodore Logan.
And you're watching the most bodacious news in town.
This is Wyld Stallions News!
To start us off tonight, there's some drama in Iran. I'm getting reports that Iran has finally released the hostages they've held for over a year. The non-heinous crisis was described in the report as an entanglement of vengeance and mutual incomprehension. Furthermore, the act was totally terrifying to the American public, and we cannot confirm at this time if Iran had tortured the hostages. They took the citizens because a group of Iranian students who supported the Iranian Revolution took over the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. The crisis reached a climax when, after failed efforts to negotiate the hostages' release, the United States military attempted a rescue operation commonly known as Operation Eagle Claw, which involved the USS Nimitz and the USS Coral Sea. The operation failed, resulting in the deaths of 8 American servicemen and 1 Iranian civilian, as well as the destruction of 2 aircraft. The hostages involved with this event were mainly American diplomats and regular United States citizens. The full reasoning behind Iran's act of tyranny is the fact that the former Shah of Iran was admitted to the United States for cancer treatment. Iran demanded that he be returned to stand trial and possibly be put to death because of crimes Iran accused him of committing during his reign. And now to Ted Theodore Logan for his first segment of You Know What Really Grinds My Gears?
Today, and it's about fashion. What in the world is a miniskirt? Like, why is it even called that? It extends either past your knees or to your ankles. Pick between a dress or a skirt. And finally, designers totally decided that they were going to make it into just a skirt. But no, the people decided they wanted it down to their frickin' ankles. And some people just shifted to like totally super casual clothing. Like, do you even care about what you look like? It's either be comfy and look terrible, or be stylish and feel like your clothes are suffocating you. Don't even get me started on the knitting needle. Now we wear sweaters. Yeah, in the winter, okay, but the summer? Sweaters? We aren't in Antarctica. And you know what's grinding my gears even more? The big look. It's not that the styles are bad, but you don't call your clothing the look. And then finally, we get stylish, comfy looks, blazers, cowl-neck sweaters, regular skirts, vests, plaid jackets, even tuxedos. Everything is great. And then women get screwed. Baggy clothes were the designer's choice, and girls with good figures couldn't show it off, while some complained it made them look bigger. It's a lose-lose. Designers then ended up totally zooming in on the body, making clothes very revealing, tight, and small. And then we just get these like totally colorful and eccentric looks that blind people, and then we change back to relaxing, nice clothing. Just pick a style and stick with it. Back to you, Bill.
Thanks, Ted. And in other news, we have another report of the Watergate scandal. If you didn't know already, following a break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters at the Watergate complex in Washington, D.C., President Richard Nixon and his administration were being blamed for being behind this break-in and attempting to cover up their involvement. The term Watergate has come to encompass an array of clandestine and often illegal activities undertaken by members of the Nixon administration. Those activities included such dirty tricks as bugging the offices of political opponents and people of whom Nixon or his officials were totally suspicious. Nixon and his close aides ordered harassment of activist groups and political figures, using the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Central Intelligence Agency, and the Internal Revenue Service. During this hectic process, Nixon has been put on trial for suspicion of his involvement in the Watergate scandal. The investigation revealed that Nixon had a tape recording system in his office used for recording conversations secretly. He has since been asked to hand over the tapes he secretly recorded, and has refused. Because of this, it raised suspicion to the jury. The scandal led to the discovery of multiple abuses of power by the Nixon administration and articles of impeachment. It has finally been reported that President Richard Nixon has resigned from presidency, and Gerald Ford will now take over as president.
Strange things are afoot in Washington, D.C.
Totally right, dude! Now we go live to Rufus at the Pentagon.
Thank you, Bill. For those of you who all didn't know, the United States have been in a long battle in Vietnam. North Vietnam, aided by communist forces, have been supporting a group called the Viet Cong, who have been endlessly fighting the South and the United States along with you. As the war continued, the part of Viet Cong and the fighting decreased in the South world, North Vietnam grew. U.S. and South Vietnamese forces relied on air superiority and overwhelming firepower to conduct search and destroy operations involving ground forces, artillery, and airstrike. In the course of the war, the U.S. conducted a large-scale strategic bombing campaign against North Vietnam. The U.S. viewed its involvement as the war way to prevent communist takeover in South Vietnam. This was a part of wider containment policy with the state aimed at stopping spread of communism. The North Vietnamese government and the Viet Cong were fighting to refute Vietnam. They viewed conflict as a colonial war, fought initially against forces from France and then America, and later against South Vietnam. While the war isn't over in the world, as communism was trying to spread, our troops are finally coming home. And while we will always treasure the lives of our lost troops out there, we're excited that Vietnam is finally over. We'll give it back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Rufus. And now we'll go to the Grim Reaper for reports on environmentalism.
Gasoline wars have been going on for years now. In fact, they began in 1973 when members of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries proclaimed an oil embargo. The embargo caused an oil crisis or shock with many short and long-term effects on global politics and the global economy. It was later called the first oil shock. The embargo was a response to American involvement in the 1973 Yom Kippur War. 6 days after Egypt and Syria launched a surprise military campaign against Israel, the U.S. supported Israel with arms. In response to this, the OPEC announced an oil embargo against Canada, Japan, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom and the U.S. The crisis had a major impact on international relations and created a rift within NATO. Some European nations and Japan sought to disassociate themselves from the United States foreign policy in the Middle East to avoid being targeted by the boycott. This, teamed with what could be boiling as another stock market crash, could be regarded as the first discrete event since the Great Depression to have persistent effect on the U.S. economy. Back to the studio.
Thanks, Death. And now we go back to the Pentagon, where Rufus will have a report on Cold War.
Thanks, Bill. So the Cold War has been a growing issue in military and political tensions since World War II. The reason it's become Cold War is because there's been no large-scale fighting between the United States and the Soviet Union, hence the term cold. There has been major tension between these two countries since 1947, along with the Soviet Union supporting North Vietnam in the Vietnam War. While the United States has been supporting the South, but we have gotten reports that both the Soviet Union and the United States have become interested in accommodations to create a more stable and predictable international system. A period of daytime that saw strategic arms limitation talks and the United States opening relations with People's Republic of China. That was strategic counterweight to the Soviet Union was created, but Detente has collapsed. This is due to the fact Soviet war in Afghanistan elevated tensions. Back to you, Bill.
Thank you, Rufus. We'll go back to Death for reports on gasoline wars and OPEC.
Thank you, Bill. And yes, environmentalism. The term environmentalism arose addressing the importance of combating common everyday problems and major issues alike that face the environment. The first Earth Day occurred April 22nd, 1970, and was the brainchild of U.S. Senator Nelson. It created to inspire awareness and appreciation of the Earth's environment, the overwhelming awareness that was swept nation has hit the U.S. government right in the face and has prompted them to pass many bills designed to help save the government. Some of these bills include the National Environmental Policy Act, Clean Air Act, the Federal Water Pollution Control Act, the Environmental Pesticide Control Act, the Endangered Species Act, and the Toxic Substances Control Act. The report I have is that a new agency has been created called the Environmental Protection Agency. Its goal is to raise infinite awareness and to accomplish many things to make a difference in the environment. Mission statement: to protect human health and to safeguard the environment, air, water, and land upon which life depends. Thank you. Back to you, Bill.
Thanks, Death. We have one more segment tonight with Ted Theodore Logan. Take it away, Ted.
I totally will, Bill. I'm actually totally reversing this tonight. You know what makes my gear work heinously? Music. There's so much variety with some amazing, excellent tunes. Like God Save the Queen, Go Your Own Way, London Calling, Heroes, Blitzkrieg Bop, I Feel Love, Heart of Glass, Born to Run, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, and Band on the Run. Oh, and every single Led Zeppelin song. But seriously, music keeps me going every day, and it should keep everyone out there going too. You know what does grind my gears? The absolutely non-heinous Sesame Street. They are all totally deformed animals with huge mouths, like they could eat us. Why is this popular? And then all of the TV shows and movies are freaking comedy. Give me some variety. I want to cry watching a sad movie, or pee myself to a totally freaky horror. And to be honest, poets just need to stop trying, dude. Yes, poetry was written, but poetry was not read. TV is taken over, and it'll only get worse in the future. Wait! What if Elmo totally wore one of those not bodacious miniskirts? Back to you, Bill.
You totally hit it, dude. That's all we have for tonight. Big thanks to Death and Rufus for being live in the field.
Thank you to everyone out there viewing us.
I'm Bill S. Preston, Esquire.
And I'm Ted Theodore Logan.
Good night. Be excellent to each other.
Party on, dudes. This has been
Wyld Stallions News.
In 1970 and was the brainchild of U.S. Senator Gaylord.
Thanks, Bill. So the Cold War has been
Really?
Soviet Union and the United States have become more interested. Thank you, Bill.
It's hard to look
For all would stated they viewed the Southern Vietnam War isn't over.
Here, looking over to you.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Strange thing. No. I gotta do. No, we can still go.
But as terrifying. No! I skipped the whole line.
Alright, go.